Hey everyone, right, I've decided to do my first review, and yesterday I went to see the film Prometheus, which I've been looking forward to for a while, and I think for many people it's going to be their most anticipated film of the year. So yeah, let's find out what I thought of it. So let's start off with the story. Well, the less you know, the better about the story in Prometheus, because there is a lot to it. It's quite an intelligent story, and at its simplest, it's basically about a group of explorers who go to the edge of the universe searching for the creators of mankind. And I don't really want to reveal too much more. Now, before I went to see Prometheus, I looked at one review, and unfortunately, it was a negative review of it. So I was quite disappointed at that, really, because for me, this is the film that I've been looking forward to most throughout the year. Dark Knight, Amazing Spider-Man, no, this is the one for me. I really have been excited about it. And to hear that apparently it's not even worthy to be called a prequel to Alien, I was like, wow, well, Ridley Scott must have really messed up, which is quite unusual for him because he usually makes good films. But I'm happy to say that it really is pretty good. It's not as bad as you may have heard. It is a good film, but it does have its faults, that's for sure. There are a lot of faults in this film, and yet it didn't live up to my expectations, but it is certainly worthy to be called a prequel to the great Alien. The story starts off very simple until about the halfway point when things really pick up, and unfortunately this is the first fault of the film really, when the narrative begins to become quite muddled, and because of this, plot holes emerge. And I'll get to these in the spoiler section, which I'm going to do at the end. But apparently there is going to be a sequel to it, so that might clear a lot of things up. Because I know when I went to see it at the cinema, there were people walking out a bit confused, going, well, hang on, how come that happened? This doesn't make sense. What about the introduction? What does that have to do with everything? People were quite confused. Right, I'll start with what this film does well. Well, visually, this film is stunning. It looks incredible. I don't think 5 minutes goes past where there isn't something on screen that just makes you go, wow. Yeah, it just looks amazing. Also, the 3D is very good in it. Straight from the opening shot where you've got this moon and stars in the background, it's just the depth level is incredible. It is not just a gimmick, unlike in most blockbusters nowadays. The 3D works perfectly and adds a whole new depth to the whole film. The acting in this film is also very good. Michael Fassbender is easily the standout performance in this film. He has all the best moments, all the dramatic moments, and for me, he is what makes this film, along with the visuals. His performance is just the highlight of the film. Charlize Theron was good in this film, but again, I feel she was underused. And also, performance reminded me a lot of Sigourney Weaver's from the old Alien film for some reason. I don't know whether anyone else felt this way, but I got that vibe from it, and for me, that was fantastic. Noomi Rapace was good. She was fine in it all the way through, but unfortunately, Michael Fassbender was, just so much better, and he was the one that stood out. But she did have the highlight of the film for me, and I'm not going to spoil it, but if you're pregnant, you will probably want to close your eyes when it happens. Apart from them three main actors and actresses, there's no one I'd really like to point out in this film. Guy Pearce was okay, I suppose, but the rest of the cast really served no purpose whatsoever. I mean, they were boring, they were underdeveloped and very boring. They just felt like they were there just so they could have a gory death at the hands of the alien. That's all they felt like they were there for, the only purpose they served. And again, here's another problem with the film. The characters do stupid things quite often throughout it. Early on, when they first go into this cave, then two of them say, oh, I don't like it in here, let's go. And they just wander off on their own, and they don't know where they're going, and just wander further into the cave. It is just ridiculous and stupid. And I expected better from Ridley Scott. I thought that he would realise that modern horror conventions, don't work in a film like this. We've seen it hundreds of times. It's meant to be original. Now, I feel it's quite unfair that this film is getting rated quite poorly, just for the sole reason that it is not as good as Alien, and it is not a lot like Alien. For example, Alien had the real claustrophobic feel and this real unsettling atmosphere, and this is nothing like that. There really isn't any points in it where you feel claustrophobic. The atmosphere isn't really that unsettling either. yeah, it's stunning to look at, but it never creates this feeling of, you know, like really unease and things like that. It's more exciting, to be honest, and there's no suspense. Whereas the original Alien is regarded as a master of suspense. I can't think of one real suspenseful moment in this. Gory, yes, it's very gory. I think this lack of suspense is really due to the fact that once it hits the halfway point, there's so much going on at all times that, you know, it's impossible to create suspense. And that was never his aim, I got the feeling. I got the feeling he wanted to be more exciting, which he succeeds in, because at all times it really does get your heart racing, which, you know, is good enough. So what if it's not as good as the original Alien? So what if it doesn't use the same techniques? It succeeds in the techniques it is trying to achieve. Now, although I have been quite negative about the film, I'd like to say it's not a bad film by no means. It's a very good film. It's well directed, and you can tell that a lot of time has gone into it. And it is more intelligent than your average summer blockbuster. It's not dumb in any way. It has intelligence to it. Maybe not as much as Ridley Scott would, you know, intended. But like I say, maybe a sequel will cover up all the plot holes, which would be nice. Right, now I'm going to get on to some spoilers. So if you have not seen Prometheus, please stop now. Do not watch anymore, because there are some twists and turns along the way which you do not want to know. So you've been warned. So first thing I'd like to talk about is some of the stupid things that the characters do. Now, the bit that I couldn't talk about earlier, and I'm pretty sure you might know what I'm going to talk about if you've seen it as well, because the whole cinema, when I watched this, just shook their heads, were like, oh, why? All my friends were like, well, that's just stupid. So it's the part where Elizabeth and Meredith are running away from the alien spaceship that Prometheus has just crashed into, so now it's like rolling after him. And it looks really cool, don't get me wrong, it looked fantastic, and I was really enjoying it up until Elizabeth tripped, and she rolled out of the way, and she rolled like 4 times, and she was already out of the way of this thing. And Meredith just kept on running, even though she'd just seen that she'd rolled out of the way. It's like, run to the side of it, you know, and you'll be out of the way of it, you'll have a clear distance, don't worry, you'll be fine. Next thing is sort of a plot hole. I think maybe this just went over my head, I don't know, but I don't understand why this race that apparently created us want to destroy Earth, wants to take the bioweapons and just destroy Earth. I don't understand that. It was never explained. Obviously, when they woke up one of the engineers and they asked, and that engineer just went crazy and like went on a killing spree. So, you know, you never found out, which is very mysterious, don't get me wrong, it's very good, but I also felt very disappointed and sort of thought, well, it's not really as intelligent as it appears, is it? Because it's not letting us know. Whether it's just setting us up for a sequel, maybe, I don't know. The only thing I could think of was maybe that these beings that created us thought that these bioweapons could be used against them, so they thought they'd just dump it on our planet and just sort of wipe us out. That's the only thing I could think of, really. Overall, I highly recommend Prometheus. Now, while it never reaches the greatness of Ridley Scott's other sci-fi films, like, you know, the original Alien, it is still a very good film. It doesn't have the atmosphere of Alien, but it makes up for that in other ways. It looks stunning, and it uses more of the convention of a modern horror film, which I suppose isn't a bad thing. I mean, it makes it more predictable, but it doesn't make it any less enjoyable. So, if you enjoyed this review, please subscribe and like, and I'll see you next time. And oh, by the way, if you have any reviews you want me to do, or you want to recommend, please just leave a comment below. And also, I want to know, what's your favourite Alien film? I mean, mine's probably the first, closely followed by the second. The third was okay, and the fourth one, well, I'm not going to talk about that, it's just rubbish. I'm not even going to mention the Alien vs Predator films, because both of them are pretty much poo. And that's another thing. I mean, if you think of the story in Alien vs Predator, that's impossible, because apparently the first Alien comes into being in like 2080 whatever, whereas in Alien vs Predator that was set in like, what, 2008, and there were aliens? Impossible. But anyway, see you next time. Bye bye.